Welcome. Today we're going to get into a really transformative book by Martha Beck called The Way of Integrity. It's all about finding your way back to your true self. And it kicks off with one simple, powerful question that might just change the way you think about your own anxiety forever.
So get this. This is the radical idea the whole book is built on. What if all that suffering, the burnout, the dread, that feeling of constant dissatisfaction, what if it's not a sign that you're broken? What if it's actually a perfectly functioning guidance system, like an inner compass that's just trying to tell you, hey, you've wandered off your path?
To really capture this feeling of being off course, Beck uses this amazing metaphor from the poet Dante. She calls it being lost in the dark wood of error. You know that place? It's where you just feel this deep sense of confusion. You know something is really wrong, but you just can't put your finger on what it is.
Yeah, these feelings are super familiar, right? This is pretty much the soundtrack of the dark wood. It's that completely baffling feeling you get when you've done everything you were told to do. You got the good job, the right partner, all the markers of success, but that happiness you were promised just never shows up.
And the book is packed with these real-world stories. I mean, just imagine this. A doctor, whose job is to heal people, suddenly feels disgusted by the thought of touching her patients. Or a lifelong book lover who becomes an editor, but then finds she can't even get through a single paragraph at her desk. These aren't signs of failure. They're basically SOS signals from a part of you that's being completely ignored.
So how in the world do we get so lost? Well, Beck says it comes down to this huge split between our true nature, who we really truly are, and all the cultural roles we play to fit in and get by. And to understand this, we have to talk about a really key idea, integrity.
Okay, so first things first, we have to completely rethink the word integrity. For this book, it has absolutely nothing to do with being a morally good person. It's more like the integrity of a bridge. It means being whole, solid, in one piece. It's when what you feel on the inside is an exact match for what you're doing on the outside.
And this right here is the thing that shatters our integrity. Beck calls it the cultural hustle. And it's every single time you say yes when you really mean no. It's the clothes you wear to send a certain message. Basically, it's any performance you put on for an audience instead of just being yourself.
And this constant hustling is just exhausting. It leads to a life of pretend relationships, where your public relations person meets their public relations person, but you never actually connect. This quote from one of Beck's clients just says it all. The end game of all that hustling is this deep, soul-crushing burnout from the sheer weight of not being real.
All right, so if the cultural hustle is what gets us lost, how do we find our way back? Well, the answer isn't in another self-help book or some new 5-year plan. According to Beck, your guide, what she calls your inner teacher, is already inside of you. And you know what? It speaks the language of the body.
This is the vocabulary list for your internal compass. When you betray who you really are, your body and your emotions start sending up flares. That chronic fatigue, that nagging back pain that has no medical cause, that addiction you just can't seem to shake, these aren't the problem. They're the alarm bells, and they are screaming a truth you've been trying to ignore.
And this is so important, we need to stop trying to numb our suffering and actually start listening to it. The pain is just the messenger, and it's telling us we took a wrong turn somewhere. Your system is working perfectly. We just have to learn how to read the signals it's sending us.
Okay, so once you start listening to your body's compass, the next step is to take a hard look at the faulty map that led you into the woods to begin with. And that map, it's made up of all the unquestioned beliefs and thoughts that are just living rent-free in your mind.
I mean, really think about it. How many of the rules you live by are just things you heard over and over again? Beck's daughter actually says, belief is just someone saying something near you enough times. These aren't universal truths. They're just cultural suggestions that we've mistaken for commands.
So to find these false beliefs, the book has this really cool technique that comes from the world of espionage. It's called walk back the cat. Basically, when you do something that goes against what you truly want, you can trace that action backward, step by step, to find the one single thought, the lie, that caused you to split from your own integrity.
Now, all of this sounds really great in theory, but let's be real for a second. Living in alignment and speaking your truth is not always easy. Actually, choosing this path means you have to choose courage over comfort, because it is almost guaranteed to create some friction with the people around you.
When you stop playing the role you've always played in your family, at your job, with your friends, the system is going to push back. Beck calls this a change-back attack. People might get angry, or they might act hurt, or they might try to shame you into going back to your old self, because your change is threatening their nice, comfortable, predictable world. As the author Julia Cameron puts it, People can feel it when you're about to change the rules of the game. But here's the crucial thing to remember. This pushback doesn't come from a place of strength. It actually comes from the fear of people who feel like your new choices are a challenge to their own.
So what happens when you actually push through all that resistance? What's the prize for all this hard work? Well, it's nothing less than a life of genuine authenticity, of peace, and a kind of freedom that you feel deep down in your bones. The book tells this unbelievable story about a woman named Cherie. She was so trapped by her circumstances that she decided to end her life. But as she was standing there at the edge of a cliff, in what she thought were her final moments, she just let go of everything. Her identity, her roles, her worries. And in that moment of total surrender, she had this huge revelation. She didn't actually want to die. She just wanted to stop living the lie. And that's what's waiting on the other side. When your inner world and your outer world finally click into place, all that constant static of anxiety just fades away. Decisions get easier, your work feels like it has a point, your relationships become real, because you're finally no longer at war with yourself.
Which brings us right back to the heart of the whole book. This journey isn't about becoming a better person. It's about becoming a whole person again. It's about finding your way back to the you that existed before the world started telling you who you were supposed to be.
So as we wrap up, I just want to leave you with this one thought. The path to integrity doesn't have to start with some huge, dramatic life change. It starts with one small, quiet moment of honesty with yourself. So the question is, what truth is your life asking you to finally tell?